This morning we're going to start thinking about faith. As you think about the wind, you know it exists because its existence is undeniable. You trust it's there, but it's invisible. You feel it, you can see the effects of it, but you cannot see it. Imagine a young woman named Miriam. She's standing by the shore of a great sea, and the waters are parted on the right and on the left by a mighty wind. And on the ground of this sea is dry land, where there used to be water just moments ago. Can she see God holding back the water? No. Can she see the wind holding back the water? No. You cannot see wind, just as you cannot see God. But can she see the effects of God and the wind as the water is held back, and she trusts that the God who made the wind controls the wind, and that the wind and God holds back the water, and she walks forth into the sea? Yes, she does. She sees the effects of the wind. She sees the splitting of the sea. She sees the dry land. She feels the rush of freedom as they escape from slavery, and the invisible power that saves them of God she does not see. When she receives her salvation and her freedom by God, when she gets to the other side of the waters, she still has not yet seen God, but she sings a song of victory about how God is victorious, the mighty God who controlled the wind and guided them across. Her faith is in what she could not see because of what she did see. Her foundation for worship and courage is built on facts that she could see that proved the one she could not see, and the thing wind that you cannot see. Today we're going to start diving into Hebrews chapter 11, and we're going to swim in Hebrews chapter 11 for many weeks, coming up to go to Revelation every once in a while. But as we go through the book of Hebrews, as we go through the chapter 11 of Hebrews, I want to start by introducing the whole book. The book of Hebrews is a book of encouragement to Christians to keep faithful to God no matter what, and to trust and to have faith in God. Let me show you an example of that. Chapter 10 of Hebrews, verse number 23 through 24. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. Hold on to your hope and do not be tossed to and fro, because you have a God that is trustworthy, who is faithful. And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works. Think about how you can encourage another Christian so that they will stay faithful. Not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another all the more as you see the day drawing near. Don't forsake worship and Bible class and fellowships and fellowship meals, because you need to be there to help your brother or sister not fall from their faith. You need to help them grow in their faith so that when the Lord comes back, it is not a scary moment, it is an exciting moment, because your brother or sister is ready because you helped encourage them. But some Christians have forsaken the assembly, forsaken the fellowships, and are not encouraging one another, he says. So the book of Hebrews is about encouragement, encouraging us to stay faithful until Jesus comes again. We are being encouraged to be faith-filled people, faith-filled about the unseen God, but we should have a faith that is so full in us about God that it is as solid as the concrete you are standing and sitting on right now. Where your feet are at, firmly planted on this concrete, does not compare to how firmly we can stand in our faith to the unseen God. As we go throughout the chapter, almost every section we're going to look at is going to start with the phrase by faith, but the first one starts with the phrase now faith. Now faith is the assurance. What is it the assurance of? Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for. So let's go almost word by word through this. First of all, faith. What is faith? The word faith in the Bible literally means assurance. Isn't that interesting? You could literally translate that. Now, assurance is the assurance. The word faith means assurance, assure, assuredly, belief, believe, believers, faith, or fidelity. But the root word, I think, will help you understand something even more. It means something that is trustworthy or reliable when we think about an object. So let's think about a trustworthy or reliable object to help us understand the word faith. We call one particular object Old Faithful. Old Faithful is named, and I want to read you this definition because every phrase in this definition reminds us of what our faith should be. So listen to some of these words. Old Faithful is named for its consistent and predictable eruptions, which occurred approximately every 60 minutes to 110 minutes for over a century. Located in Yellowstone National Park, the geyser was dubbed Old Faithful in 1870 by an expedition who observed its regular eruptions. The name reflects its reliability, as it has maintained a relatively stable eruption pattern, shooting boiling water up 180 feet into the air. Geological studies confirm its consistency stems from a stable underground plumbing system with magma heating groundwater to create pressure for eruptions. This predictability has made it a symbol of natural reliability, earning it this moniker, Old Faithful. There's the definition of faith right there. Did you hear all those phrases? Reliable, predictable, every hour, day after day, for over 100 years. Old Faithful. You think about a tool, maybe it's just a plain old flathead screwdriver, but when you think about this, you call it your trusty sidekick. This flathead, I've had this for 30 years and I'm never going to get rid of it. It has always been there for me. I can trust this screwdriver. Now those new ones, the batteries wear down. Sometimes I forget that. But this one, it's my trusty sidekick. You think about an old pair of pliers and you say, these are my old trusty pliers. They've got me through thick and thin. When I was poor, I had them, and now that I've got more money, they're still good. These pliers have always been good. Think about an old refrigerator. Someone might say, this fridge has lasted through 5 presidents and 4 wars, and there's no way I'm getting rid of it now. Faith is a belief in something or a reliance on something day after day, year after year. God has always been there, and He will never let you down. He will never fail you. One day, I hate to say this, I'm going to break some of your hearts. One day, the Old Faithful fridge will go out. It did last through Obama, Trump, Bush. I mean, it may went all the way back to Clinton, but one day that fridge will go out, but God will never go out. Faith is the assurance. So now let's look at the word assurance. When we think about assurance, the word could be translated as substance or confidence. It's actually a combination word, and I love to break it down by its combo because it helps me understand it better. The first part of the word is hupo. Hupo means underneath. Underneath. The second part of the word is stasis, and that means to stand. So I want you to put those two words together before we even get to the definition. I want you to think about what those two words by themselves mean together. This is something that is standing up under something. Think about a concrete foundation of a house. Think about something that you trust and you build your life upon it. The wise man built his house upon the rock, hypostasis, understanding. Something that is standing under, holding you up. Our old faith, we put our trust in the foundation of things hoped for. So our faith that has been with us day after day after day has a foundation it is built on. What is that foundation? It is the things hoped for. Daniel went down into the lion's den because day after day after day through his whole life, God had been there for him. Day after day after day, he had prayed to God, and this was going to be no exception. And so he prayed to God. He was faithful to God, but he put his trust in God. He built his foundation on God, and so he went into the lion's den and he hoped for God to close the mouth of the lions. And I would add to it what his friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah said in the fiery furnace, and if not, they still have their hope in God. And what did God do? He closed the mouth of the lions. Abraham and Sarah, they hoped to conceive a child even though they were very, very old. Why could they hope to conceive a child? Because God had promised them a child. God had promised them a child. God had told them they were going to have a child. God is faithful. He is the same yesterday as He is today. He will be tomorrow. And over and over and over, He had told this elderly couple, and she was beyond the years of women. It was impossible physically for her to have a child, but they hoped in God because He had said it over and over and over. And so they built their foundation on hope. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Let me read you a few verses later in the chapter. Verse 17, by faith, Abraham, when he was tested, let me go down further. Up further. Verse 14. 13. These all died in faith, not having received the things promised, but having seen them and greeted them from afar, and having acknowledged that they were strangers and exiles on the earth. Verse 16. But as it is, they desire a better country, that is, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for He has prepared for them a city. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were all promised by God over and over and over, like Old Faithful. It just kept happening over and over again. God would promise them, you're going to have a great land. Your family is going to become as great as a nation. And you're going to have a great descendant, Jesus, who will bless all of the earth and bring happiness to everyone. Did they trust God when He consistently promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob this great land, this great people, and this great descendant? Yes, they did. Did they live to see it? No, they didn't. They put their hope in the things they had not seen because they knew God would tell the truth. And guess what? Their generations, hundreds of years later, inherited the land. Hundreds of years later, were millions of people in a nation. And thousands of years later, Jesus came through them and blessed you and I. Because God, you can put your promises in. You can hope in Him. The Israelites hoped for the walls of Jericho to fall down. They marched around 7 days. Why? God told them to. But why did they trust Him? Why did they have that faith? Why did they build it on an assurance of a foundation? Why did they do it? Because they had seen God with the 10 plagues in Egypt. He had promised He would do it. He did it. They had seen God when they crossed the Red Sea. He showed them dry land. He kept it dry. They had seen God as they wandered around in the wilderness. He told them, you will have manna 6 days, and on the 7th day you will not have manna. You can gather extra manna on the 6th day to provide for you for the 7th day. And week after week after week after week after week after week for 40 years, every week, 6 days manna, 7th day no manna. God is faithful, so we can put our faith in Him. And so then when God says it's time to march around a city 7 times, and on the 7th day the walls are going to come tumbling down, guess what you do? You march around a city 7 times and you understand that God will keep His promises. Because God is faithful. Day after day after day, year after year after year. And so we know that even though these are things we hope for, we know they'll happen. Now let's continue on the second part of that phrase. Now faith is the conviction. Conviction is only used one other main time in the whole New Testament, and it is not used in a positive light. This Greek word is only used one other time, and it's talking about convicting someone of their sins. If you or I were not yet a Christian, or if we have a loving enough brother or sister as we're a Christian that's willing to convict us of our sins, what does that mean? It means that they show us you're doing wrong. But you know what? If somebody shows me I'm doing wrong, I might be a little stubborn, and I might say, but this is the way I've always done it. How can it be wrong? And then they have to prove to us we're doing wrong. And then they have to continue to show us, and they have to give us evidence. And they may need to even show us God's Word to convict us that we're doing wrong. That's what the word means in the other text. That will help us understand our text. Even though this is a positive and that is a negative. Faith is when there's evidence enough to prove a conviction of the unseen things. There's enough proof to convict someone of their sins, but guess what? In this passage, there's enough proof to convict us that the unseen God is real. How do I know wind exists? I see it move the trees, and I'm standing at a hot ball game in 110-degree weather, and I'm dying and I'm sweating, and then I feel it. And the wind cools my skin. Did I ever see the wind? No. But I know it's there. Why? Because there's evidence of the unseen. How do I know gravity exists? When an apple falls from a tree, does it float and just stay where it was? Does it float up and go into the sky? Or does it hit the ground? It hits the ground every time. It's consistent. It's reliable. It always goes to the ground. What's the evidence of gravity? That the same thing happens every time, even though I can't see gravity. How do I know God exists? I see the evidence of His actions in my life. I see the proof of a Creator in the creation. I feel love built into this world. And if there is love built into this world, then someone must be love who built the world. God is love. If I see the intricacies of creation, then there must be a creator. The Bible has been proven accurate time after time after time after time. What is it that I have a conviction of? Let's read the rest of the verse. Now faith is the conviction of things not seen. How do I know Jesus will come again and will reward and judge the world? Because God has kept every promise He has ever made. God's Bible has been proven accurate over and over again. The Bible has proven it. The Bible has proven it. God has proven Himself. And so if God said, one day my Son will come again and He will judge this world and He will reward those who obey Him and He will punish those who disobey Him, then if God has always been reliable, if God has always been faithful, then I can be convicted from the evidence of God that the things I have not seen will happen. Have you ever seen Jesus? Do you know that He came to this earth, He lived for you, and He died for your sins? How do I know it? Archaeologists have proven the facts of the Bible. The Bible is inspired by God. The Bible has no mistakes in it, and the Bible tells me so. The Bible said it. I believe it. That settles it. How do people know that I have faith and you have faith? You see, the conviction of things not seen can be things that we didn't see because they happened back in the Garden of Eden. They can be things we didn't see because they happened when Jesus came to this earth. They can be things that we didn't see because they haven't happened yet at Jesus' return. But this could also be talking about my faith and your faith. Faith is the evidence of the unseeable faith. How do people see our unseen faith? They see it through the proof, the conviction, the evidence. They see the proof in how I love the lovely people and how I love the unlovable people. How do people see your faith? They see the evidence in how I obey God week after week, worshiping Him the way He told me to. How do people see your faith? They can be convicted of your faith by your actions. There's going to be a formula throughout this whole chapter. He's going to say, by faith. By faith, so-and-so did such and such. That's the rest of the chapter. The rest of the chapter is going to say, by faith, so-and-so did such and such. In other words, the formula for this chapter is, faith is seen through works. Let's look at the first example. By faith, the people of old. So who's the so-and-so? The people of old. What did they do? What was the such and such? By faith, the people of old, verse number 2. For by it the people of old received their commendation. By faith, the people of old received their commendation. Let me read you some of these commendations we have in chapter 11. By faith, Abel was killed by his brother. Does that sound like a commendation? No. Here's what I want you to understand. When you live in faith and you show evidence of your faith, that doesn't mean people around you will like it. That doesn't mean that the world will give you commendation. It doesn't even mean your own family will give you commendation. And God forbid that this happens, but it does. I hate to say it. It doesn't even mean that members of the church will always give us commendation. Sometimes we do not react as we should to another Christian when they're doing good in faith. By faith, Abel received his commendation from God, not from his brother. Verse 5, by faith, Enoch was taken up. I'm going to skip to the end of the verse, and was commended as having pleased God. Who is it that commends us? Who is it that commended them? God. By faith, so-and-so did such and such. But here's the interesting thing. That's going to happen throughout most of the chapter. But in this such and such, it's God doing the such and such. By faith, we have faith. What happens? We are commended, but we don't do the commending. God commends us for our faith. By faith, men and women were mocked, flogged, stoned, and sawed in two, it tells us in chapter 11. Men and women of faith loved God. They showed their faith to the world, and how'd the world work? The world cut them in half, literally. We're not going to study that for a while, but that is in this chapter. But God commended them. You realize that the world, the church, unfortunately sometimes, the family, the town, can turn on us, can hate us, can punish us for showing evidence of our faith, but God will commend us. By faith we obey God, and He commends you for showing actions of your trustworthiness of faith in Him, because He is a rewarder. We saw that faith proves what others hoped for would come true. And what we are hoping for will come true, because God promised it and God cannot lie. Heaven and earth is assured As Abraham and Isaac were assured, as Abraham and Sarah were assured they were going to give birth to Isaac, heaven is assured. We have realized that we can be convinced by God of what God said happened long ago and what He said will happen in the future. How did you get here today? Did you travel on a vehicle that was going 88 feet per second? Having 30,000 parts? Did you trust 30,000 parts going 88 feet per second to keep you safe on the way here? Why? Because most of the time, most of the parts have worked through your life. Most of the time, 30,000 parts are working all synchronized together, and most of the time, none of those break. And most of the time, you get where you're trying to go, and most of the time, you get there safely. And yet, every day we jump in a car and we drive it trusting 30,000 parts going 88 feet per second. But God, all of the time, is faithful. God, all of the time, works for our best interest, and God never breaks. We are willing to put our trust in 30,000 parts we cannot see. Oh, maybe I can see an engine. Okay, there's one. Maybe I can... Okay. What about the other 29,000? 30,000 parts that are not always reliable we put our trust in daily. But God, who is always reliable, we must put our trust in daily. God is faithful. Can you see Wi-Fi? I cannot see Wi-Fi, but I put my trust in it. How do I know Wi-Fi is there? Because there's evidence that the Wi-Fi is there. Because it does what I expect it to do, day in and day out. Can I see wind? I cannot see wind. How do I know wind is there? Because there's evidence of the wind. I feel it on my skin. I see it moving the leaves of the trees. How do I know gravity is there? Because I can see that every time I drop this, it falls. Right? It never floats, and it never goes up. This week, my challenge for you is I want you to take one of the seeable, unseeable things. Gravity, wind, Wi-Fi, and I want you to start a conversation with someone. I want you to talk to a friend or a neighbor, a family member, or go on Facebook and use Wi-Fi to talk about Wi-Fi. And I want you to tell someone that we know Wi-Fi exists because we can see the evidence of it. We know wind exists because we can see the evidence of it. We know gravity exists because we can see the evidence of it. I want you to take one unseeable thing and use it to tell someone about God, the unseeable, who is more reliable than Wi-Fi, gravity, and wind combined. That is always there. We can always see evidence of Him if we're willing to look, even though He is unseeable. This week, take your opportunity, make a post, talk to a friend, and bring up one of those unseeable things that they believe in to tell them about the unseeable thing they really need to believe in. Do you believe that God is real? You wouldn't be here, I don't think, unless you were. I didn't see anyone being dragged in kicking and screaming. Do you believe that God is real? If you believe that God is real, we have to believe in His promises. And He promised us the unseeable things, and one of those unseeable things is that Jesus will come again, He will judge the world, and we will get to go to victory if we have believed and obeyed Him. Or punishment if we have not believed and obeyed Him. Do you believe? Do you have faith in God? If you have faith in God, then you will do what it takes to go where He promised. Have you heard about Jesus? Do you believe in Jesus? Are you willing to turn your life towards Him? Come and confess that you believe He is the Son of God and be baptized for the forgiveness of your sins? Then you can trust that He will forgive you and that He has a heavenly home prepared for you. If you are ready to come forward confessing your faith and being baptized, come as we stand and sing.